Welcome to Krakow, Poland. This is an economic, academic, and cultural hub. It's Poland's second largest city. It's also a city that has seen its share of tragedies over the years. This is where the Nazis housed Jewish families back in 1939 in ghettos before sending many of them to nearby concentration camps, including Auschwitz. Fast forward 80 years, and Krakow is once again experiencing a humanitarian crisis, just a different kind. The city's population has swelled 20% this year, thanks to the influx of migrants fleeing war-torn Ukraine next door. We are here to meet some of your friends and neighbors, fellow Arizonans who've dropped everything at home to come here to Poland and help with this refugee crisis. We started at the main train station here in Krakow, which is connected to a huge mall complex, and that's where we found several families from the East Valley.
We found Chelsea Walker and Jody Hewish of Gilbert inside a luggage store buying the place out to give suitcases to people who'd fled their homes in Ukraine.
A lot of them just have grocery bags, or they'll have duffel bags or backpacks.
They say they paid their own way to get here from Arizona and are using donations to buy 18 suitcases today alone.
50% off?
Haggling with a supplier to get a deal and make each dollar count. They really seem to know what they're doing. So it surprised me to learn Poland is their very first trip abroad.
I've never been across the ocean, so it was all a lot of firsts for me, but it's been really exciting. I don't speak any of the language. I've never been out of the country, but I know how to speak love, and so that is invaluable.
Okay, while they finish up in the store, they're putting cash in each suitcase. Each one's getting about $100 US, I'd say, in each one, and it's hidden inside because they say they found many of the refugees won't take cash if they know they're being given cash just out of pride. So they're hiding cash inside each suitcase. They rolled the suitcases through the mall into the train station full of refugees who'd just arrived, and thankful for these strangers from Arizona.
Thank you. Thank you.
In this crowd, we find other Arizonans helping in other ways.
Trying to reunite this little girl with her cat again.
Kim Wolfley of Gilbert drove a refugee family and their cat to the airport, but the cat wasn't allowed to board the plane.
Big tears, little girl crying, mom crying, dad crying. We took the cat.
And drove the cat to 6-year-old Anastasia in Germany. Kim teared up when I asked why it was worth a 20-hour round trip.
Little girl gave me a hug when I told her I'd take care of her cat. So it just, the feelings here go deep in your heart. It's really, you just got to do what you got to do.
One of many direct impacts Arizonans are having on Ukrainian families suffering through their darkest days.
They inspire us. We're the blessed ones to be here. We're helping people one by one. We're just not out there throwing suitcases at people and saying goodbye. You can see we're trying to connect with people and trying to really let them know that we are there for them and love and support them.
It does beg the question, where do these refugees go once they leave the train station? The answer varies. Some of them move with friends and family in other parts of Europe. Some are given temporary housing right here in Poland, and we wanted to see what that process was like. So again, we met up with that group from Gilbert and followed them through resettling an entire multi-generational family in one day.
Outside a big mall in Krakow, refugees wait in the cold for a hot meal from the World Central Kitchen. Inside, we find a group of women from Gilbert, Arizona, taking one family under their wings today. It's a woman, her sister, her daughters, and grandsons. How old are you? 10 years old. The men in the family all stayed in Ukraine. The women are here with nothing. Volunteers from Arizona are changing that.
Oh, these are pretty.
Buying them blankets, groceries, everything the family needs for a new temporary home.
All the potatoes in one.
The Arizona volunteers paid their own travel and lodging, and they just spent $600 from fundraising efforts to stock the family up in Krakow. Their work began after Marcy Foster and her husband diverted from a tropical spring break to Poland with their kids.
We want them to see, outside of our little bubble in the East Valley, what people experience in the world and what true suffering can be.
On this, their second trip, they've used contacts in the Polish government to find housing for this Ukrainian family. All right, we're out in the country now. This is about an hour and a half outside the city of Krakow, and this is where they were able to find a house, small house for this family of refugees to move into, at least for the time being. So we're going to be there as they see it for the first time and start to set it up. There are challenges along the way, including trying to follow directions.
Take the third exit onto Aleja Zolkanerzi Pierway Armiłaska Polskiego Droga Krakowa 97.
And we got to the farmhouse only to find no key.
Just get it, maybe it's...
Hello.
It's another example of how it really is grassroots volunteers without much experience making it work, figuring out all the logistics for resettling refugee families. With the sun setting, I eventually proved my worth for the day.
Okay.
Oh, got it.
We found it. Okay.
Finding the key under some debris. Totally undaunted by any of it, the matriarch of the Ukrainian family immediately got to work, setting up their new home.
She's over there just trying to make it a home. And I just, so many moments, like I just get, it all comes up and you get super emotional because you think about like, if that was me, that's exactly what I would be doing. She's in this strange place and she's trying the best that she can with what little she has to make a home for her kids. And she's left her husband behind and she's left her son behind.
The neighbor's dog came over to keep the kids busy. You say hi to the dog?
Okay.
You say hi?
Oh, no.
As the boys settled in, we couldn't help but wonder if or when they'll see their dad, uncle, and grandfather again.
I thought about my own brothers and, what that would feel like to walk away from them and not know if we'd ever see them again.
And this is one of many families they're helping. Word of their work is spreading, leading to more calls for help.
Если он позвонит, может...
Who is that? Is that Sergey that's talking
Sergey, yes, he's talking to
Okay, how did they get our number? A volunteer?
in refugee center.
Okay.
The only tears came as they said goodbye. A parting gift, a Ukrainian flag-themed flower arrangement of yellow and blue.
This is just supposed to be a bit of home. So when we came in, we told them that we wanted their home right now to have beauty and to remind them of home.
We'll meet more Arizonans who are here in Poland helping the refugees from Ukraine after this. Now we're going up a couple hours north to the city of Warsaw. We're going to meet an ASU professor who moved here just in January on a Fulbright scholarship, never imagining her days off would be spent helping refugees coming in from Ukraine.
But when I came in,
Our guide is Jessica Hirschhorn, an ASU professor teaching for the semester in Warsaw. She never imagined her days off would be spent at a refugee center.
Do you speak Polish?
I'm taking Polish.
Do you speak Ukrainian or Russian?
No, I don't. So the language has really been an issue.
It is not the Red Cross or large aid organizations, but rather people like her, grassroots volunteers, who built and operate this center. The man I'm showing my ID to is from the Polish government, which granted unprecedented access because, frankly, they need help, and they want the world to see what's happening here.
This is normally a big expo center where they have conventions and different kinds of things, but it is full of cots, and they keep expanding. Here's another room here. They're setting up more cots. This is one of the rooms they allowed us in, and it's just expansive. There are about 3,000 people staying here. And if you look way at the end of the corner, there are 6 kind of makeshift temporary showers. That's all they have, 6 showers for 3,000 people.
So some of these people on this side, it's more recent arrivals. So they have space because they never know how many people are going to come.
The refugees didn't shy away. Many were eager to talk to us, clinging to pieces of the lives they left at home in Ukraine. Vladimir, a blacksmith from Mariupol, wanted to show us some of his work and
my home.
What used to be his home. An elderly man told us how comforting his cat Sonia has been for him, a sentiment echoed by a father, Andre, who smuggled his kids' dogs out.
100% importance. Yeah, Stowe is 100.
Their family.
Да, семья, family. Family, да, yes.
The refugee center's warehouse is short on the basics, like comfortable clothing, underwear, and shoes, and full of things they don't need, like soda, junk food, and to my surprise, diapers.
I would assume with all the kids
that you need diaper donations, but there are stacks and just piles of diapers here. You don't...
Right. The thing is, they try to settle the families with, especially young babies in private homes.
While there aren't many babies here, the center houses a lot of refugee children. Remarkably, we found teenagers dialing in remotely to their classrooms. They set up a preschool and daycare for the youngest kids, and a nearby rec room is kind of a noisy catch-all, where a taped-up piano provided the music as 15-year-old Sophie got a haircut. Volunteers are doing everything they can to keep these kids occupied. Among the youngest at the refugee center is 3-year-old Demir, whose grandmother was more than happy to have me step in to entertain him for a while. His family has been here more than a week. The center's meant to be temporary. Between the bright lights, which never dim, the lack of showers and hot water, and the constant noise, the living conditions are far from ideal. But it is not from a lack of effort and caring on the part of the volunteers, who handle everything from meals to clothing distribution to resettlement assistance. 2 months in, though, Jessica questions how long they can keep this up.
The main people that are running the center are completely exhausted. So you have to understand, they're volunteering all their time, but she's a school teacher. So she's teaching school and she's helping run the center, and they're completely exhausted. I think there's a lot of questions about sustainability that are coming up.
For now, they just keep expanding, adding more cots and more rooms to brace for another wave of refugees coming from Ukraine. Ukraine is about 2.5 hours east of Krakow. Our experience at the border and the retired Arizona police officer we met there are next. Welcome back. People have been coming here to Poland from all over the world, hoping to move into Ukraine to help with the war effort. One of them is a retired narcotics detective from the Peoria Police Department. Semi-trucks full of supplies and fuel are backed up for miles heading into Ukraine. It can take a day or more to get through the border checkpoint. We are bypassing the line, following the black car driven by a former Peoria police officer.
If you go up here, that's the border, and then next thing you know, the border guards jump you up.
We parked and walked to the Ukrainian border checkpoint where tens of thousands of refugees have crossed.
For people leaving on foot, this is the main one.
Pat Shearer took us through what's turned from an empty parking lot into a camp where aid organizations welcome refugees into Poland.
It looks organized.
It is now. It wasn't in the beginning.
He initially came here to join the military and join the fight, but he kept running into families needing rides, and that became his mission.
I know how to maneuver through and get people out a lot faster than having to sit on a bus for sometimes days.
He drives refugees and soldiers, helping them all avoid trains and buses.
I've done that a lot, where I've given people rides or given soldiers rides to their units, and where it would have taken them a couple days, but I was able to get them there, in one night.
The border with Ukraine is just beyond the gates over here. Now, to cross the border in a vehicle, it could take many, many hours, but you can walk across relatively freely and quickly. So Pat has 2 cars. He has 1 car over in Ukraine. He has a 2nd car here in Poland. That's helping him save a lot of time with all these border crossings, and it's helping him reach more people.
I've had different cars, I've put up so many miles, they have to take it in for an oil change, so they give me something else.
As we talked, sirens wailed and refugee families streamed through. He's driven more than 300 people and keeps in touch with many of them.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'll remember most, I think, really.
They certainly remember him.
Yeah, you too, man.
At the border, he was relieved to see this soldier doing well. Pat had given him a ride weeks earlier after he'd been shot. Pat is not affiliated with any of the major aid organizations which are here along the border. He's entirely self-funded. And as for how long he's going to stay, he meant to leave mid-April, then it was end of April. Now he's thinking he might stay till the end of May. In what sounds like a movie plot,
their contribution to the war effort.
We found Pat transporting ballistic vests and night vision goggles from another former Peoria police officer living in Austria, taking the supplies to soldiers in Ukraine.
Binoculars. I'm going to give them to a special forces group.
He had to make it to Lviv, where he has an apartment these days, by the nightly curfew. So as the sun set, Pat left us, pushing a cart full of supplies across the border into Ukraine. Next, meet the Chandler man who went without a plan and now has an important role at the World Central Kitchen in Warsaw. The World Central Kitchen is a global operation, but they rely on local grassroots volunteers to cook and feed those in need.
I'm not a chef, but essentially everything from cleaning tables to taking out trash to running food.
Christian Heil is from Chandler, Arizona.
I really couldn't just sit at home watching the news anymore. I had the means and I had the time to travel out here and just do whatever I could to help.
He's working here under the direction of a Polish chef who left his normal kitchen to organize this makeshift operation, which is mass-producing meals daily. The day we visited, they were serving 10,000 meals. You can see across the street from the refugee tents, normal life continues in the large city of Warsaw. Christian says he's been reflecting on a lot of his normal life in the East Valley.
When I do go home, I will 100% value everything that I have in my life much more, because you see these people with 1 or 2 suitcases, and that is their entire life. And, you know, I go home and I have a giant pool, a nice car, you know, like things that I take for granted like every day.
The 28-year-old personal trainer has been in Poland for more than a month and has plans to stay long-term.
Maybe until the tent goes down at this point. I'm pretty, my heart and soul is here, and yeah, I had no timeline.
After spending several days here in Poland and watching many of our neighbors do amazing work with Ukrainian refugees, I could tell you Arizona has a lot to be proud of. If you feel inspired to help with any of their missions, we will leave you with some of their contact information. In Krakow, Poland, I'm Jared Dillingham for Arizona's Family.
Я тоже что-то возьму. Все нормально.